Move on again, and questions to the Minister for Communities, and I call Diana Armstrong.
Speaker, question 1.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I wish to group questions 1, 2, 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14 and 15. I understand the shock and concern, all of these changes and the uncertainty that it brings to people. I do not know the full impact for Northern Ireland at this time, and my officials are continuing to work closely with the Department for Work and Pensions to understand the full implications for Northern Ireland. Calculations on the UK-wide impact of the Green Paper were published along with the Chancellor's Spring Statement on the 26th of March. It will take time to understand the Northern Ireland impacts thereafter. I want to ensure that Northern Ireland has a welfare system that is fair for claimants and taxpayers and protects the most vulnerable. I will continue to engage with the UK Government to ensure that this happens, and also with executive colleagues, as Northern Ireland does not have the resources to mitigate against these changes.
Ms Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the Minister for his response. He will understand that there is much anxiety and apprehension in the community around these changes. Minister, can you outline what engagement you have had with your executive colleagues in mitigating these welfare changes?
Minister.
Well, as I've said, Mr. Speaker, it's not going to be possible for us to mitigate these. However, we will take time to consider the impacts and see what, if any, actions we can to make sure that we're helping those who are most in need.
Peter Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the Minister, does he feel that there is perhaps a better way to reform the welfare state, and if so, what steps he's going to take to do that?
Well, I think almost anything is better than the steps that this government have outlined. However, I do believe that there is a way for us to reduce the welfare bill. That's something actually that we should all want to see, because we should want to try and help people where possible get back into work. I believe there are ways in which that we can do that. We only have to look at some of the successful job programmes that we have had here and the impact that that has, not only in less money going out from the Treasury through benefits to help people, but also additional money that you will have coming in through national insurance contributions and income tax to help the Treasury. That costs money in order to help people, but that is well worth it, and that's one thing that we should do. And of course, secondly, we should also be trying to tackle fraud and departmental error as well, to make sure that the right money goes to the right people at the right time.
Jerry Call.
Minister, hundreds of thousands of people will be expecting you not to do Labour's bidding and not implement these cuts. I hope you can say it today. And also, Minister, given the fact that there are no rent caps in the private rental sector, there's some hundreds of millions of pounds of the welfare budget going to private rent accommodation because there's no rent caps. Is this something that's being looked at to cover a mitigation fund to protect people from using cuts?
As I've said before, Mr. Speaker, our research indicates that a rent cap would actually make things worse for people in Northern Ireland, and that's not something that I am willing to place that burden on.
Nicola Brogan.
I thank the Minister for his answer. Would the Minister agree that these cuts are an attack on the most vulnerable people in our society, and both as an Assembly and an Executive we should oppose it?
Well, we certainly have, as an executive, made clear our views to the UK Government, and I've met with the Secretary of State in relation to this issue, and will continue to make our views known, because I do believe there is a better way for us to reduce the welfare bill. That's by helping people rather than hurting them in this way, by taking it off them in the way in which it has been announced. And I think that there is common cause across the executive on this, and we'll continue to make the points.
Bobby Butler.
Minister for his answers. Since the announcement by the Labour Government, the community that has been most disproportionately affected, maligned and attacked is the disabled community, who potentially would be most affected by these changes. But systemic difficulties are faced by many disabled people in terms of achieving work. Could the Minister outline any discussions he's had with the Labour Government, particularly in regard to the attacks on the disabled community?
Minister.
These are certainly points that I have raised with the UK Government, and in addition I've made it clear the need for us to continue the work on the disability strategy and the disability and work plan as well, because I believe there are many disabled people who actually want to be in work, and that's what I mean whenever I say that we should break down barriers, is provide support to people to enable them to be in work rather than to pull the rug out from underneath them, which is what I believe the UK Government is doing, and in doing so will actually lead to increased costs among those that find themselves in the disabled category in particular.
Mr McGuigan's not in his place. Stuart Dixon.
Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for answers so far. Minister, given the proposed abolition of the work capability assessment, what assurance can you offer those people with conditions not captured by PIP, such as those with ongoing cancer treatment, and will they still be able to access universal credit support?
I understand these are concerns that have been expressed. We're still trying to figure out all of the outworkings of what this will actually mean, but I hope that we will be able to provide all support that we can to people in Northern Ireland that may find themselves affected, and what we can do, we certainly will do in this regard.
Minister, do you accept that there are many people, particularly people vulnerable with mental health frailties, for whom this has exacerbated their anxieties? And you did mention there, Minister, that you made your views known to the UK Government. Can you specifically outline to us what exactly those views were in detail?
Yes, I made my views on this known both to the Secretary of State and to UK Government Ministers on a UK-wide call that was not specifically about this issue, but I used the opportunity to get this across. I do also feel that this will have increased anxiety and perhaps in many cases unnecessary anxiety, because the government haven't been clear as to exactly who this will impact and in what way it will impact them. I think the fact that they weren't able to give us a total cost that was consistent in regards to the changes show that they don't even know how this is going to affect people.
Owen Robertson.
For his answers. Could he indicate to the House how much these changes are likely to cost to Northern Ireland?
Minister.
Well, unfortunately, Mr Speaker, we don't know the cost, and this is another one of the problems that we have with the way in which the government have announced these changes. Whenever they were originally announced, we were told that it was going to save £5 billion across the UK, which on a pro rata basis would have been over £150 million for Northern Ireland. That's now changed. The newest estimate that came back then was £3.4 billion. So the fact that the government were so far out in terms of how much this has cost, I believe, is an indication that they don't really know the impact that it's going to have. That means we don't know the impact that it's going to have on Northern Ireland, which makes me think that this has not been well thought through.
Mark Durgan. Minister.
Mr Speaker, tenancy agreements are legal contracts. Supported housing is provided for people with housing support needs who cannot live independently. This may include people whose support needs are such that they do not have the capacity to enter into a legal contract.
Mr McDonald, or Mr Durgan.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. I thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, a young lady with autism and a severe learning disability in my own constituency is in temporary housing courtesy of the Housing Executive, was recently offered a bungalow. It came as a great joy to her, only to have that taken away when it was determined that her mother, who has power of attorney and legal authority from the court, was deemed not to be able to sign for her housing. Can the Minister work with the Housing Executive and indeed the Department of Health to ensure that our housing policy is not discriminating against those with disability?
Mr Speaker, it's generally the case that tenancy agreements cannot be signed by an individual that are deemed to lack capacity. However, there is potential for consideration to be given through the Office of Care and Protection for someone to be authorised to sign a tenancy on behalf of the individual who lacks capacity. This needs to be determined on a case-by-case basis, but if you would like to write to me directly on that, I'd be happy to chase that up.
Kelly Armstrong.
Much, and thank you, Minister, for your answers so far. Minister, can you confirm what action you can take to ensure that people with limited capacity and their carers are informed about securing the lasting power of attorney, enduring power of attorney, deputyship or a court of protection order?
Minister.
Yes, as I've already outlined to the House, there is a mechanism in place that may have been able to help. It's maybe the case that this wasn't well known in this instance. I don't know if they went down that route or not, but certainly there are a number of options that are available. Sometimes those are on a discretionary or case-by-case basis, but I'm more than happy to ask the relevant authorities what action can be taken so that everyone can be aware of those.
Mr McNulty.
Councillor Craig.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, a statutory report on the operation of welfare reform as provided for in the Welfare Reform Northern Ireland Order 2015 was laid before the Assembly in December 2018. My department also published an evaluation of welfare reforms as detailed in the Welfare Reform Composite Evaluation Framework.
Mr McNulty.
thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, in 2015, your party, the DUP, along with Sinn Féin and the Alliance Party, tripped through the lobbies together to hand welfare powers over to London. To what extent has that vote impacted on our ability to help and mitigate against the most harshest of cuts impacting the most vulnerable people?
Minister.
The member will be aware that the Executive brought in welfare mitigations that help deal with some of the most egregious of those welfare reforms and the impact that it had on people in Northern Ireland, for example, on the bedroom tax, where we simply didn't have the capacity to do anything else. And I believe that those mitigations and their extension have helped many people in Northern Ireland that would otherwise have found themselves in a very, very difficult situation. And I'm pleased that we've been able to continue with that support and extend those just last week.
Honourable Murray.
Question number 6.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I met with representatives from Belfast City Council and Coltas last week. Of course, the delivery of this large-scale event requires commitment from many partnership organisations. I'm pleased that the Arts Council, an arm's-length body of my department, is available and more than willing to assist with advice and input as the plans develop.
Mr. McMurray.
I thank the Minister for the answer, and it's very encouraging. Minister, speaking to local Coltas branches, I know there's a real desire to reach out to all aspects of traditional music within Northern Ireland. I suppose, what can the Minister and his department do in order to further encourage the sharing of musical traditions at events such as Flag Ceoil na Éireann?
Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what we discussed during the meeting last week, to ensure that all traditions and all types of music are represented, and we get an opportunity to showcase not just Belfast but Northern Ireland on that stage and showcase what rich cultural and musical heritage we have.
Buchanan.
And the Minister sort of covered my question there briefly. Minister, I take it you agree then that the FLA would have a representation of a cultural music across Northern Ireland in the way that a range of cultural expression that has?
Absolutely, and in fact the marching band tradition in Northern Ireland was mentioned, and the richness and significance of that was highlighted. Belfast has already been able to attain UNESCO City of Music status since November 2021, and I think that's because of the very, very wide range of music and cultural tradition that we have, and I think that the marching bands are an important part of that as well.
That's in middle.
We can call that legislation out of Foster. The Jenny Lower Canada and Farty Clare Hanna Ascalia Hala Westminster, Agus Curfwalcher Riv Flag Ceoil na Éireann, Agus Kershi Kuru Higan Frioaura Ta Dual the Frastal Foster. My party leader recently welcomed the Flag Ceoil na Éireann to Belfast and invited the Prime Minister, who confirmed that he will be attending. Will the Minister also attend?
Minister.
I'm sorry, I was trying to find the translation of that, so I don't think I heard all of it, but certainly if it's in terms of an invite, I'd be more than happy to take up that invitation and use it as an opportunity to highlight Belfast and Northern Ireland on the world stage.
Maurice Bradley.
Question 7.
Mr. Speaker, the Irish FA is currently developing capital funding to modernise grassroots facilities on behalf of DCMS through the Irish FA DCMS Grassroots Facilities Investment Fund 23-25. I welcome the recent announcement of a UK-wide £100 million funding package to upgrade grassroots sport facilities and pitches, of which £3 million is being made available to support projects in Northern Ireland and will be distributed in partnership with the IFA for 25-26. But I am aware that this fund will not meet the demand at this level of the game. My department is working with the Irish FA to fully understand the need at grassroots level.
Mr. Bradley.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Minister for his answer. Minister, as somebody who's heavily involved with youth, junior, intermediate and senior football right across my constituency and my neighbouring constituency, Northampton, can I ask the Minister when a call will be opened for applications to the grassroots football, and does he share with me the importance and value of grassroots football?
Minister.
Well, yes, absolutely, and I'm more than happy to put on record my thanks to him for his many decades of service to football in Northern Ireland. I am also aware of the importance of grassroots football, especially for young people, and the extent of that right across Northern Ireland. I am very keen to make sure that we can move forward with the Northern Ireland Football Fund, and the grassroots element is something that I am pleased to be able to progress as well, because that is where so much of the work goes on and where so much of our talent is nurtured as well. And I hope to be in a position soon to release details of when that grassroots call will go out. He'll be aware that performance was the priority, but I want to make progress on all elements and look forward to doing that.
Timothy Gelston.
9.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Department provides funding on an annual basis to all local councils for community festivals through the Community Festivals Fund. Community groups wishing to mark the occasion may be eligible to apply for support through their local council. I'm also continuing to explore other opportunities through my department to support organisations participating in the semi-quincentennial commemorations, and I will make further announcements in the near future.
Mr. Gelston.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I firstly congratulate the Minister on his recent trip to the US to promote Northern Ireland. Minister, I think of villages such as Dervick and Cullyback in my own constituency who have proud links to previous American presidents, as well as Coke and Mid-Ulster who have proud links with Vice President Vance. What type of community events will you seek to support moving forward to ensure that these links can be celebrated both now and indeed as part of the semi-quincentennial celebrations of the Declaration of Independence?
Sir.
Presidents would be Chester Arthur and William McKinley as well, and I would be keen to support those celebrations which helped to promote those links that exist between what is now Northern Ireland and the United States. And I would be keen to see those celebrations take place, because I not only believe that we should be very proud of the connections that we have, and also the spirit of those that left to go to the United States remains here as well today, and that is something worth celebrating. But what I want to make sure that we do is continue to put this on to the agenda of those decision makers in the US, because this will have benefits in terms of tourism and in terms of our economy as well. So those are the type of celebrations that I want to see, and that can really stand out and show the US about the connections that we have and how that will be beneficial on both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a former Belfast City Councillor, we were very proud of our links to our sister city, Nashville, Tennessee, which also happens to be the home of Andrew Jackson, which I know the Minister's own constituency has strong links to. Would the Minister then therefore encourage our councils to get involved in this special celebration?
Yes, absolutely. I would encourage all of our councils to get involved. However, I think that there are a number, Mid and East Antrim, obviously, with the links to Chester Arthur and to Andrew Jackson, and clearly the links that we have in Fermanagh and Omagh with the Ulster American Folk Park, and I was delighted to be able to make an announcement about that as well. So yes, I think that we should. I think that the administration officials and the commission officials that I spoke to in the States were intrigued and interested by the fact that we were wanting to commemorate this and to tell the stories of those who left Ulster to go to the States. And I think that council should be encouraged to do that as well. Not only should it be a sense of pride for us and those that left here and did so well, but so that we can continue to highlight those connections with the US.
John Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I echo the comments and congratulations to the Minister on his engagement with the US administration so far on the huge historical and cultural links between Northern Ireland and the United States. Would the Minister agree with me that quite often the Scots-Irish Ulster-Scots connection has been lost or distorted in that narrative and that history? So could the Minister, with that in mind and already banking on the progress that has been made with the celebrations for the Declaration of Independence, could he outline what sustained and prolonged engagement will look like to ensure that the people of Northern Ireland have their history marked in such a fitting way?
Yes, absolutely. I think that most people in the States and elsewhere will be aware of the famine and post-famine immigration to the US and the impact that some of those immigrants had, especially in the in New England and the Northeast. But I think if you were to go back 100 years previously, it's people from Ulster that really made the biggest impact in terms of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and getting elected to Congress and to the White House. And I think that is something that is worth celebrating. And I think that there is a responsibility on us to keep this going. We will have the Memorandum of Understanding for the semi-quincentennial celebrations with the America 250 Commission, but I believe this should be a longer piece of work where we're starting through this celebration to tell people about Northern Ireland and what this place is like, but we need to keep that going so we can maximise the benefits that come in terms of tourism and genealogy and the sport tourism that we can get, as well as wider investment, and hopefully more people seeing this as a place not just to come and visit but to study as well.
Ryan Kingston.
Speaker, question 13.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I had a busy programme planned to enhance existing relationships and to establish long-term collaborations with a key partner for Northern Ireland. I was able to promote Northern Ireland at the very highest levels through a series of important engagements. The semi-quincentennial of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026 is an event of global significance, and I want to ensure that Northern Ireland is ready to mark the occasion and that our contribution, past and future, is recognised. The semi-quincentennial commemorations formed a key aspect of my discussions with the America 250 Commission. I secured special status for Northern Ireland, recognising the deep historical and cultural ties shared with the United States for the major international event and celebration being held in June 2026, and this will be underpinned by a Memorandum of Understanding. I've also announced a first-time partnership with the Library of Congress, National Archives and other institutions in Washington to host an archive research placement from PRONI to develop a collection of archive documents to help uncover and tell the stories of our shared past. I also spoke at an event at the Smithsonian entitled Divided Communities, Difficult Histories, where I was able to tell a little bit more of that story and showcase the work of National Museums Northern Ireland and announce funding for the Ulster American Folk Park.
Mr. Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer. And indeed, he'd had a busy few days in Washington, D.C., and I do thank him for his personal interest in promoting our international connections with North America. And can the Minister tell us more about what benefits can the Memorandum of Understanding bring to Northern Ireland?
Well, the Memorandum of Understanding is going to be very important because that will set the framework for how the story of this place is told. I'm really pleased that there was such a genuinely open door from the America 250 Commission, who were excited about the stories that we had to tell and the possibilities that creates both for Northern Ireland and the United States. So I see a number of benefits coming from that, because first and foremost what that does is put Northern Ireland on the map, and it puts it up the agenda in terms of the celebrations next year. We have a direct link now to the Commission. We will have an understanding with them about what we can provide and how the story of people from here can be told. And that is all important because it allows us to tell people about Northern Ireland. And in telling people about Northern Ireland, we get more interest, and in getting more interest, we can have more people who are going to come here and visit here, hopefully study here and invest here as well. And that is a very, very worthwhile piece of work.
Alan Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, did you recognise when you were in Washington the importance it is to create face-to-face relationships, build with trust, to eventually exploit more business opportunities?
Minister? Absolutely. You have to show up. You have to be in the room. I know I took some criticism for going in October time, but the fact that I was able to go in October time, make those initial connections, build on those over the last 6 months, that has led to what we now have in place today. And I think that is important, and I think that that will produce dividends for Northern Ireland. We have already got, in practical terms, solid achievements that have come out of the engagement that we have. That doesn't mean that you agree with everything that the current administration might be doing. I have visited Washington in the past when Joe Biden was in office. I visited now when Donald Trump is in office. Regardless of the occupant of the White House, we turn up, we show up, we speak up for Northern Ireland. And in doing so over the last year, we've got tangible delivery for Northern Ireland as well.
Okay, Minister, I have to commend you because you got told off on the early occasion for the answers being too long, but you're the first Minister to have completed all 15 questions within your time, so you're to be congratulated for that. And note to other ministers, group plenty of questions together and keep your answers to the point, and more members will actually get to ask questions and hear things. Moving on then to the topical questions, and I call Mark Durkin.
Mr. Speaker, the early part of question time focused on it was dominated by discussion on people's fears and feelings about new draconian cuts that will plunge more vulnerable people into poverty. Can the Minister provide an update on the anti-poverty strategy that he said would be published early this year, then he says would be published by the end of this month? That's today. When will we see it, and when will people feel the benefit of it?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that I will be sending to executive colleagues today the anti-poverty strategy in draft. I hope to see the impact of that as soon as possible, but it will ultimately be dependent upon getting executive approval.
Mr. Durkin.
Thanks to the Minister. Given the latest looming cuts coming from Westminster, is the Minister confident that the strategy will be able to react and will be adequately resourced to protect people here?
Minister.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that the strategy is flexible, and although we will have different action plans that come out of that, and it will be able to be, those action plans can be refreshed. First and foremost, this is providing a framework for the way forward. I think that's right that we do that, but of course we need to be agile and make sure that we're actually putting measures in place that are going to have a difference.
McDonald's.
And touching upon what Mr. Durkin has just said, Minister, will you engage with other executive departments to prepare a coordinated response to the disability cuts?
Well, certainly the anti-poverty strategy will be about that, and as I've said, we'll also be bringing forward a disability strategy and a disability work strategy as well. But certainly I believe there is a joined up approach from the executive, and I hope that continues.
Mr. McDonald.
I thank the Minister for his response. And Minister, given the recent policy direction of the Labour Party, have you had to make any changes to the anti-poverty strategy?
We were already operating in a difficult environment, and although we were not aware of some of the specific changes that were coming, the strategy has been drafted in such a way that we're dealing with the root causes of poverty, not just looking at the benefit and welfare system, as important as that is, but this will be a strategy that will tackle the root causes, and of course we will adapt and change through those action plans. This is about setting a framework. It will not be set in stone.
Declan McAleer.
Minister, I previously raised with you the topic of the regeneration of rural towns and villages, and in response to me in February, he indicated that you're working in partnership with DFI, DEAR and local council to develop a strategy, and you're going to make an announcement soon on that. So is there any update on that, Minister?
I think this is the third topical question that the member's had. It's the third time that he has raised this issue, so I should have been prepared for that one. I don't have an update at this moment in time, but of course I will furnish him with that as soon as I do.
Mr. McAleer.
Thank you. The Minister will understand that, apart from the fact that we don't have the lead regeneration schemes at the moment, and the 5,000 criteria does have a very detrimental impact on rural towns and villages. Is the Minister minded to take a look at that threshold?
Minister?
It's certainly something I am happy to look at, and the member's not the first to have raised that with me. There are others in my own constituency that fall into that category as well. So he has been consistent and persistent on this issue, and I will of course keep that in mind.
John Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I regularly see the work of a lively and vibrant community and voluntary arts sector in my constituency, and I'm sure other members do also. Can the Minister tell us of any new programmes that are planned to encourage and facilitate the promotion of and participation in the arts at local level?
Mr.
Well, this is something that is of concern to me. I had the opportunity on Saturday evening a week ago to attend the Young Farmers Clubs of Ulster Arts Gala, and it was a fantastic example of arts organisations at a local level outside Belfast, outside of the big cities, outside of areas where there's that infrastructure support, and it's a fantastic example of what can be achieved. I have met with the Arts Council, and I'm looking at ways in which we can help grassroots art projects, and I hope to be able to make an announcement on that soon.
Mr Blair.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, to thank the Minister for that answer and the references he made to the type of activity he was referring to in the original question. Could I suggest then, Mr Speaker, to the Minister that any review of existing programmes or forward planning that might be put in place with regard to community arts might also include looking at the better utilisation of public spaces such as theatres at local level, community halls and other public facilities?
Sure.
Yes, in fact I had a recent visit just in relation to that and the need for that space in order for the arts to thrive, and it's certainly something that's on my agenda.
Brogan.
Can the Minister update us on his most recent meeting with the British Secretary of State in regards to the development of Casement Park, please?
Minister.
Yes, I met with the Secretary of State recently, and I was asking him about any contribution that the UK government might make. He said that any contribution, if any at all, is not known at this time, and that would be June time before he would be in a position to confirm whether there was any additional funding.
Ms Brogan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What are the next steps that the Minister intends to take to ensure that Casement Park is delivered?
Minister.
Well, I stick by my commitment, which was the funding envelope of £62.5 million. But I have asked for a meeting with Jarlath Burns, the President of the GAA, to be able to update him on that meeting and see what the latest position of the GAA is. I believe that's taking place in the next couple of weeks.
Michael.
It is important to acknowledge historical events that won at the end empire, and the Declaration of Independence is part of that. Does he also agree with me that a full accounting of history is essential, and part of that history and story is to show that Andrew Jackson, that he mentioned previously, was actually a slave owner?
Minister.
Mr Speaker, my focus is on promoting Northern Ireland, and my focus is on doing everything that we can to tell the stories of those who came from here. But I would certainly be happy to make sure that we tell the story of slavery, and in particular how it ended, and how it ended in the British Empire, and how it was the UK Parliament that was one of the first to take action to make sure that slavery was actually ended.
Mr Carroll.
Thank you. And as I'll remind the Minister, there was actually slave revolts that actually ended slavery in a primary sense. The former slave and abolitionist Frederick Douglass, whose statue is in Belfast, who toured this island, stated that the sunlight that brought light to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I may mourn. Does the Minister agree with me it's important to centre the voices and experiences of the black community in Ireland and America when there's talk about the Declaration of Independence anniversary?
Of course, we want to hear all perspectives, and I've no doubt that the America 250 Commission will ensure that all stories are told. However, my focus is on making sure that the story of people from here is told, because I think that that is a good news story. I think that the spirit of those that left here and all that they took with them contributed to what the United States is today, and I think that's something to be celebrated.
Minister, many of the experts involved in the co-design process of the social inclusion strategies are extremely frustrated with your approach to co-design. Do you accept that your lack of engagement has damaged relationships with many groups in the community and voluntary sector?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and I certainly don't feel that those relationships are damaged. They were given a task. I believe they have carried out that task. I believe they've carried out that task well, and as has previously been communicated to those groups by the previous Minister, that portion of their work was completed. For me, we now need to take the anti-poverty strategy to the executive, and then I look forward to hearing their responses. I will then engage with those additional groups before we head out to public consultation.
Sir Gillen.
Minister, members of the anti-poverty co-design group have publicly stated their view that their time has been wasted and their participation in the co-design process has counted for nothing. Can you confirm if any of the policies proposed by the co-design group have made it into the final draft of the anti-poverty strategy?
Yes, they have, and the work that they have carried out has been essential to the framing of the strategy and some of the policies that are in place. I'm asking for a little bit more patience so that I can get the strategy to the executive, get the agreement of the executive, hopefully, and then speak to them before that goes out to a public consultation. But I certainly don't agree that that time was wasted. It is appreciated but there is a process that we're currently going through.
Yeah, Dennis.
My colleague's question, can the Minister give an update on his work in developing and publishing the suite of social inclusion strategies?
Yeah. So the member will be aware I'm taking forward the anti-poverty strategy first, simply because that has been a requirement on us since 1998, and there hasn't been the level of work or the publication of that has been required. That's been taken forward. Work on the disability strategy is progressing, and further work will be carried out in due course on the additional strategies.
Dennis.
Minister, on the sexual orientation strategy in particular, the expert panel reported on that in March 2021. So why has the Minister not taken that forward for consideration by executive colleagues?
Because there's additional work to do, including taking it through a cross-departmental working group that will be established. I do have limited resources. I do have a small team. I wanted to put a priority, I believe rightly, on the anti-poverty strategy because of how long that has taken, and I look forward to that work being taken forward soon.
Chambers.
Could I ask the Minister to give the House an update on the current position of the Queen's Parade redevelopment project in the city of Bangor?
Minister.
The member will be aware there are still a few issues that need to be ironed out in relation to that project. I know it's been delayed. I know that comes as a source of frustration to many of those involved. We've been waiting decades for this to progress. I'm determined to make sure that it does progress. He'll be aware of some of the discussions that are involved with the different stakeholders, but I am certainly doing everything that I can to make sure it progresses.
Mr. Chambers.
Thank you. Does the Minister have any concerns that the reported changes in the makeup of the construction consortium that's delivering the project will have any impact on the commencement date previously reported as the end of April?
I don't believe those changes that he refers to. Certainly nothing has been on my desk that makes me think that that is a matter of concern. I want to make sure these outstanding issues are dealt with as soon as possible so that we can actually start construction because, as I've said, the good people of Bangor have been waiting too long.
Ferguson.
Just can I ask the Minister, obviously I welcome the 600 new homes over the next 3 years, obviously to reduce the use of non-standard accommodation, and it is imperative that people do have their own front door when they're faced with homelessness. Can you give some direction as to how the Housing Executive will identify those properties? Thank you.
Well, that'll be identified first of all primarily on need. Because we are spending far too much money on non-standard temporary accommodation, £12 million in the last financial year compared to £600,000 just a few years before that. This will save money overall. It's a good use of resources, it's investment, and it will save us up to £75 million over 7 years. We want to maximise that saving, and that's why it will be primarily targeted in those areas where there is greatest need.
Ferguson.
So thus far, just on that then, with regards to the money savings, will that be reinvested into housing? And then secondly, is there a threshold regarding the amount for the cost of the house with the Housing Executive? Is there any direction given there?
Minister.
No direction has been given, but obviously it will need to meet value for money conditions as well. And I've every confidence in the Housing Executive that that will be the case. I'm sorry, you had another question at the start. No? Okay. Well, that's hopefully I've answered the questions. Anything I've missed, I can come back to her.
That exhausts all of the questions to the Minister, and again conclude it within time. So I think in the American terms, we're talking a lot about America. That was a slam dunk. Moving on to the next item of business, if members would just take their ease for a moment, and the Deputy Speaker will assume the chair.
Let's get going with it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we return to the motion on house building on public land. The question was put before question time, but there was insufficient time for a division. I will therefore commence the process again. The question is that the motion standing in the order paper be agreed. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against say no. No. Oh. And there we go. Thank you very much indeed. Clear the lobbies. The question will be put in 3 minutes.